Smithville Board of Aldermen meeting is now called to order. Please join Alderman Holbert in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, first item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Alderman Holbert.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Alderman Wilson.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is mayor's report. Where do we start? 8? There we go. March 8th, meetings here at City Hall. The 11th, we got the Missouri Eats meeting here at City Hall. Our next meeting is scheduled for next month. I'll send out invites to everyone in case they want to attend. On March 12th, we had Girl Scouts here for cookies with the mayor, the Finance Committee meeting, and planning and zoning. On the 13th was the chamber lunch. 14th was the vigil for Kathy Gibbons, and then after that I was at the Cub Scout Committee meeting. On the 15th, I was at the high school to give out some proclamations. And today we had meetings here with the school district, and then I met with the third school board candidate, Lynn Mathias. I met with the other two earlier. That's all. And next is committee reports. Alderman Wilson, do you have anything to report pertaining to zoning?
The only thing we really talked about this month was medical marijuana, which is agenda item number 7 for this evening. So last 2 months we did quite a bit of discussion on that and planning and zoning. So now you have it.
Next item on the agenda is the staff report. Ms. Wagner, do you have anything to report?
I have 3 items to touch base on quickly. The portal for the strategic planning process will go live online soon, and as we have that finalized, we'll get information out, post to social media, let you all know. That'll be a source of information throughout the strategic planning process. The board retreat is scheduled for May 9th, and I met this morning with Patty Gindrick to start planning for that retreat. Really talking about follow-up to where we are in meeting the goals from last year. She does know and has reviewed information from Future IQ for the strategic planning process. She also has reviewed the direction finder information, so those will inform that discussion as well. In talking, we thought a good way to move forward with this is really to look at the retreat for the Board of Aldermen as a way to set our goals for the coming year, really starting to think through the budget process. We'll have gone through most of the budget meetings. We've gone through actually all of the departmental budget meetings and had discussion on capital and equipment. So we can start talking about, kind of priorities there and move forward in that way. She would like to have conversations with each of you, kind of like she did last year. She's looking at her schedule to determine availability, and we'll get some dates to Cindy, and Cindy will be in contact with you all to schedule those times. And then finally, and Chief noted it tonight in the work session, we started a new program through the police department called Eyes on Smithville. We have asked residents and business owners who have surveillance cameras to share information with us, basically register so that we know who has that equipment, we can map where that is, and as crimes occur or situations occur, we can reach out to people who have that surveillance video in order to be able to try to solve crimes more quickly. As the chief noted, we rolled that out, and in the first 96 hours, we've had 23, and I think actually maybe closer to 30 have signed up. So, it'll be good information to have. And that's my report.
Thank you. All right. Next item on the agenda is number 7, bill number 2831-19. Alderman Sarver.
A motion to approve bill number 2831-19, zoning for medical marijuana facilities, first reading by title only.
Thank you. Have a second? Alderman Blumker.
Second motion.
Thank you. I'm going to open it up for discussion. Is there any discussion items? Alderman Chevalier.
Thank you. So, I just have a question, I think we want to do this letting in B3, that's what we're asking for here.
It's a combination of B3 and I1. So dispensaries would be B3, everything else would be an I1.
So this red kind of shows all the,
Yes.
so like medicine shop and stuff, that's all I'm saying, B3.
Yeah, and if you actually look, we need a combination of two things. So we have this map plus that map. So everything in orange there is the 1,000-foot radius of a school, daycare, or church, which they cannot. So the 1,000 feet we can't extend, but we could choose to reduce it. But those are the circles of everywhere that would be in those zones. And as you see, we have a lot of those areas in town. So anything that is B3 that has an existing structure that's buildable, that's not in one of those zones, would be dispensary. And then anything I1, which we have very little I1, would be where they look at for distribution, manufacturing, or testing. Correct?
Yes.
So I guess, again, I'm just looking at that, you know. I mean, I'm just thinking of this in terms of something similar to medicine shop, right? I mean, we don't have all these, do we have a regulation like that for medicine shop? As far as you have to be inside of the circle, right outside the circle, like that?
The 1,000 foot is defined by the state constitution. It's not our regulation. So they can
shorten it.
we can reduce it. And currently, our zoning allows for them to be in B1, B2, or B3 if we don't make a change. So the B1 that we do have is right there by Western at 180th and Old Jefferson Highway. By your house is really the only B1 that we have that's not already with something on it, or that's near a school. That's the only one that is there. And then B2, there's some that's, I think, within that zone also in B3. So really the ordinance is where we go, and if we could make an amendment to reduce the 1,000 foot.
Because there's, like, for medicine shops, I'm just using them as an example, right? I mean, there's no foot limit
Correct.
from them to be able to sell opioids or something like that, right?
Correct. Yeah. And medicine shops, what, 50 feet from a daycare?
It's right behind it, probably 300 feet from it.
From the property line or from the building?
Well, that's the other thing, we don't let the state figure it out. We don't know what
That's one thing that's not figured out also, is how we're gonna measure it. If it's the property line, the center of the property, or the building itself, or the front door of the building, we don't know. Yeah, there is no rule for regular pharmacies. Price Chopper has regular pharmacies as well, and it's near a daycare and a school.
The only other product is alcohol.
Yeah.
Limited licenses have a similar limitation of 300 feet.
So I mean, I think 1,000 feet is way too high. I would like to maybe see that come down some. I don't know if that's something we can discuss.
Yeah, you can make a motion to amend.
I make a motion to amend, I don't know, what is it, what's it called? Distance rule.
Yeah, 1,000 distance.
1,000-foot distance
Separation.
rule. To reduce that.
What distance? Do you want it to be in
And
line
that's
with
what I want
alcohol?
discussion about.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe, well, I guess, what's alcohol, 300?
300.
Let's do 300 to start.
If I can remember, there was something constitutionally noticed. So 300 is for alcohol.
So your motion is to amend the ordinance to change the distance to 300 feet. Okay. Do I have a second? Without a second, that dies. Any additional discussion?
Hey, I hate to put you on the spot, but could you kind of give a summary of the discussion from planning and zoning?
We had in-depth discussions on it. Some of us were concerned about it going into B3 and closer to some of the residential areas was the big concern. When it came down to it and we voted in planning and zoning, two of us were against it going in B3. We had discussion of putting all of it in I-1, but then it came up to if we put it in I-1, all of it, then it would potentially open the door for other retail businesses then to go into more of those industrial parks. So that was the big concern there. If we allowed a dispensary to go in there and then a Walmart wanted to go in, we said, no, you can't, would we open the city up to possible litigation? So that was, I think, the turning point for planning and zoning, maybe to go ahead and pass it and recommend it out to the board for discussion. But I would say that was probably the overall big discussion, was where to allow the dispensaries to go and the distance.
Yeah, I think everyone in planning and zoning was pretty unanimous on the manufacturing facilities being in I-1.
Yes. The big discussion, like I said, was on the dispensary itself. There really wasn't a lot of discussion on the fact that everybody wanted, I think overall, all the other aspects of medical marijuana going into the I-1.
In our current I-1 zoning, if you have a facility, only 25% of that can be retail. And that's for traffic concerns and other things. So if you build a 10,000 square foot facility, only 2,500 square feet can be retail. So that's why we looked at not doing dispensaries in there, because then you'd have somebody did a 10,000 square foot dispensary. How would we then be able to stop a bigger retailer from coming into that same I-1 and doing the same thing?
And
Yeah, and if you look at our I-1, it's not really built for the traffic that a big retailer would do.
Do we have a limit, or does the state have a limit, or county or state or city, on how many dispensaries?
It's based on congressional district, and as Alderman can tell you, Sam's district is gigantic.
36 counties, entire northern third of the state.
With
It's 94 congressional districts?
I think it is 94 congressional district, isn't it?
dispensaries.
Dispensaries.
No, it's 24 per district, 192 total minimum.
Yeah. So,
It doesn't say maximum, it says minimum.
and if you look at this congressional district, which includes St. Joe, Maryville, Chillicothe, Cameron, Hannibal, places with a lot bigger intersections than Smithville.
Goes down into Lee Summit also.
Yep, these some of those Springs.
Yeah. We're not the ideal target for a dispensary, but that doesn't mean it wouldn't happen.
So we're not gonna be like 20 period.
And the other discussion we had was more like with the traffic, that you may look further south to the B3
Yeah.
zone south. There's more where they may look at going if someone here is awarded or allowed to have one even.
Yeah.
But we needed all of this in place for them to know where they might want to put it. When they make their application, they have to have an address of where it will go. And they have to have that by June 1st or 4th, 3rd.
Yeah. And if you look at developable D3 that we currently have, there's not a lot. I mean, if it's built, it's rented. If it's not built, it might not have sewer, water, streets. And if they need to have that spot picked by June, it's a pretty reduced area based on where they can go right now and what's available. That's the 2-hour discussion in a 5-minute summary.
Yeah.
2 hours, 2.5 hours over 2 nights.
Yeah, 2 nights. I missed the first one. So. Alderman Palmer.
I share the concerns of some on the planning and zoning board about having it in B3, wide open in B3. I think a way to do this in a way that can both alleviate the concerns of having it too close to residential areas, but then also being available within the city, would be to create a B5 zone that we can then, from planning and zoning and this board, be able to individually then allow lots to have a dispensary on a per application almost status, or be able just to then designate a couple of these B3 lots as B5. I think that gives this board the ability to both alleviate concerns, but then also be responsible to the will of the voters that voted in this, this measure. So that I would, more entertain a measure that we can push along those lines. I know to do something like that, it might mean we have to come back to the board. I don't know whether we want to have a complete rewrite of the ordinance before we vote on it, as opposed to doing it tonight.
Yeah, that would have to go back. It's a different change than what's in there.
Right.
They would have to create a new district.
So we're gonna planning and zoning first.
Yeah, they start there.
Or shall we?
So if we did nothing tonight, or this fails or whatever, you said it could go into either B1, 2, or 3?
Correct.
Dispensaries.
Dispensary, yeah, yep. Everything else would fall under I-1, possibly.
Best guess. We don't have anything. Our ordinances were not written for medical marijuana in mind, so we don't have anything. But a drugstore, we do have it.
Yeah. The word drugstore exists in B1, and B2 says anything in B1, B3 says anything that's in B2.
Something else to keep in mind through all of this is with it being medical marijuana, it's still considered at the federal level just marijuana, which is still a federal offense. So right now, this will be only a cash basis only business. So you have the potential for a lot of cash to be there. So I think that's something else to consider as we move forward. While it's still a federal offense of cash being there and a higher risk of maybe being robbed of where we want that to be. At the end of it, it's a big stretch in one way because of how big the district is. Where will they go? Probably where the foot traffic is, where there's buildings already available. If we look at going with creating a B5, then we definitely have to take into account all of the orange areas that we already have of where could you put a B5 zone in relationship to the churches and the licensed daycares and schools. Mhm.
But then would we have to go through like a notification process for all these like landowners and stuff and say, hey, we're going to be changing your zone area?
They'd have to come in to get a rezoning. The rezoning would have to go through planning and zoning, then it would have to come to us to get passed, get it to a B5. So best case scenario, if we got a B5 at next planning and zoning, then we pass it as B5 in the following 2 meetings. Then somebody comes into zoning, then rezoning is pushed this really past that June date, and we might be stuck with letting them go in B1, B2, B3. It's based on the calendar.
That's my concern. I think, we're probably going to have to come back and revisit this, but my feeling is we need to get something moving forward now to allow it to get started, and then have additional discussion, for a later topic too. Come back and perfect it, tweak it a little bit more to fit what our true needs are. I've reviewed this pretty extensively. I feel like this is what's presented is a good way to get us started, and knowing that we're going to have to make changes to perfect it. There's a lot of information we don't have from the state yet. In order to allow this process to move forward, I feel like we need to move on something tonight and not punt it down the road and miss this one.
Okay, Alderman Schiller?
Jack, has there been any interest, any development plans come to you that have something within these guidelines?
Yeah, I've had contact from 5 different entities. Various, what's Smithville looking at doing, what's the concept, where's the zoning. Just get the zoning first and then do the regs once the state regs come out. Kind of the concept where most folks are going, most communities are going. Here's where they can go, and then the regs come in later, what you can do. Because right now, we don't know what we can do. Until June 3rd, when these applications get released, and all the regulations and instructions, we don't even know how we can fill it out, which is why we don't know how to measure the 1,000 foot. So,
It's also that, we've had two that have been at the meetings pretty regularly that are in the area.
one of them is not in Smithville, but they want to access our utility.
But he still owns a building in Smithville.
Yes.
So, yeah, I guess I'm just, what I was getting at was, I mean, just have you gotten a sense that this is appropriate, this is what would work for some of these folks if we did this way?
To be quite frank, the debate in the planning commission is the debate going on pretty much everywhere, whether they should go in B3 or not. The industry recommends I1 for everything that's heavier that we've got in I1, and B3, kind of their suggestion. My conversations with the planning roundtables I've been to is generally the drugstore aspect of it. So, yeah, it's not an easy call. So that's, the only other thing I wanted to highlight is there's a special provision in the constitutional amendment that talks about unreasonable burdens to opening one in a community. That's an undefined, just specifically undefined term, but to the extent there's a lot of lawyers involved, that's the only concern I'd have. If we're having open hearings and votes on whether something can or not go on an individual basis, that could get you into a little bit of trouble. So you do the big picture and then tighten the regs whenever you get that ability to tighten the regs, which would be June, sometime in June. Earliest case scenario from everything I'm hearing, none of these facilities will open until January the next year anyway. So that's the quickest possible. Gives us a lot of time to get those regulations tightened up.
And I mean, my biggest concern with all this is that, you know, if we make it too tight, too difficult, then we'll just go on the outskirts of our city and then we're gonna miss out on everything. So, I mean, someone can put a convenience store right across the street from it, and then make a killing out of it.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Alderman Holbert mentioned B5. Do you want to still entertain that?
I do, but I think for it to be 5 to go forward, that it would need to take this current motion that's the first and second would have to be tabled. Then, you know, barring that, I don't think there's a way I can push my B5 at this stage, because I can't do it as an amendment to this motion.
So are you making that motion to table, or are you gonna?
Can I make the motion since I'm not a first or second? Well, I move to table bill number 2831-19, zoning for medical marijuana facilities to a later date.
Do I have a second? Okay.
Would you have to, in that, send it back to planning and zoning, or are we just tabling this overall?
I
If it's
think that's
tabling, I
fine.
don't think it's going to accomplish anything.
Yeah, ultimately, that's my, to clarify, it would be to table it and refer it to the planning commission.
Fair enough.
If you want to get it there with the authority of the board.
Then I will move to table bill number 2831-19, zoning for medical marijuana facilities, and refer it to the planning and zoning commission.
Do I have a second? Alderman Wilson?
I'll second that.
Roll call vote?
Alderman Hilbert.
Aye.
Alderman Chevalier.
No.
Alderman Blunker.
No.
Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Alderman Sarver.
No.
Alderman Atkins.
No.
Motion fails.
4-2.
Thank you. Motion fails. Okay, any other discussion before we take a vote on the bill as originally written in the back? Clerk, please call roll.
Alderman Atkins.
Aye.
Alderman Sarver.
Aye.
Alderman Wilson.
No.
Alderman Blunker.
Aye.
Alderman Chevalier?
Aye.
Alderman Roper?
No.
4-2.
Motion carries. Ms. Wagner, please read the bill.
An ordinance amending sections of Chapter 400 zoning code related to medical marijuana facilities.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 8, resolution 677. Alderman Chevalier.
Thank you. I move to approve resolution 677 to amend park regulations.
Thank you. Alderman Wilson.
Second.
Thank you, Alderman Wilson. Discussion? All those in favor of approving resolution 677, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is number 9, resolution 678. Alderman Atkins.
I move that we approve resolution number 678, surplus of city property.
Thank you. Alderman Sarver.
Second?
Second, Alderman Sarver. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor of approving resolution 678, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next on the agenda is number 10, resolution 679, farmers market. Alderman Chevalier.
I move to approve resolution 679, the farmers market MOU for 2019.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Alderman Atkins.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving resolution 679, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion carries. Any public comment? Moving on. Item number 12. Have a couple from downtown, so that's good. Alderman Walker, Alderman Holbert, which one of you want to handle this? Go forward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, as you are, many of you are aware, we held a listening session with the downtown businesses and some of those who are interested in tonight's discussion. Had a listening session on March 4th. Good attendance. While the discussion was robust, there was not a unanimous decision on many of the items discussed, but definitely a strong consensus. And so before you tonight is some recommendations based on that discussion, as well as a subsequent discussion, and then a little bit more information to include for purpose of the discussion, how kind of frame some of the things we need to discuss this evening. Includes more items around the design standard, where I think the board needs to weigh in a little bit and help kind of make some decisions. I think the broad consensus from the group was to allow us to get going. And frankly, in reference to my earlier comment on, we may need to come back and perfect and tweak. I think the goal tonight, from my perspective, is to get enough guidance to allow this to move forward. As our warmer weather is on the way, we want to allow our businesses to get moving and get some purchases and things done, knowing that we may need to tweak. We've taken a look at several other cities who have done this, and it has taken time for them to figure out what's right for their community. And so I think while it might be somewhat generic, I think the recommendation that is coming forward is to allow for sidewalk cafes with 30-inch black tables. You pick whether they're round or square. Buy from a catalog, just ensuring that they can't blow over. Umbrellas of one color, which could include the business logo on it, and the business logo being that business, not Bud Light, permitted, allowed, do we want to see, do we not want to see, is something I think we need to complete. We want to be clear on what's allowed out and what's not, and probably erring on the side of caution and maybe not so much allowing stuff out, but making sure that we capture the things that we need to be included. Example, Bill's Bench. I think we're all in favor of making sure that Bill's Bench can remain in the proper area. And one of the things that we need to be clear on is our ADA pathway. So that ADA pathway being 36 inches, and I think the recommendation is to follow the 36 inches directly in front of each building. There's only one area where it gets a little interesting and it's not quite a straight line, and that being in front of Alicia's place, where with the ramp there, it kind of juts out, but ADA allows for that, and so we would be clear there as if it's the 36 inches in front of that. It leaves little to nearly no space directly in front of her business. So I threw several things out there, many of which are included in the packet, a couple of which are not. And there's a beautiful design that's been thrown up here on the board. I'm trying to figure out signs, and then this is where I'd like to probably get some input. Really have a nice discussion on do we want these, do we not, knowing that there was a pretty good discussion around having some, but there was not a consensus on what it should look like. I think there was an agreement at the group that if we had them out, it'd be nice if they were a little bit more uniform, but allowed for, as in this case, the logo and chalkboard to allow you to personalize it or whatever. You know, you can use different color chalk, what have you, to kind of highlight. I've been a proponent of them to really highlight that, hey, this business is open, here's what's going on. You know, one of the problems we have is what are the hours of our businesses, when are they open, when can I go buy something, when can I not? And this is a way to kind of help some of that.
Makes sense.
The other thing from a sign perspective is we've had discussion about having an event sign maybe in the courtyard, kind of highlighting the different events that are going on throughout the course of the summer or fall or picture season.
Kiosk type, wayfinding sign.
Whether it be kiosks or something similar to Lee Summit, there's a metal sign that they've changed
I
out.
think there's a couple of examples of that.
Mm-hmm.
Little map and schedule and business hours.
So with that, I know we have several friends in the downtown area. Hopefully I captured it appropriately, and if not, speak now or go by your tables.
Are you guys good with these signs?
Are they stuck in the ground or are they sandwiched?
Well, I think he gave two different options. One would be on like a pole, and the other one would be either affixed to the building or a sandwich board, or what were you thinking on the other ones?
Once the right, I kind of imagine it as a sandwich board that was out.
I like sandwich boards if I were going. I'm not, but if I were.
As long as it's out of the ADA.
Correct.
Yeah, and that's the big thing for this is all that stuff has to be on the ADA path. It's got to be clear.
With a sandwich board, you can also move it with whatever you've got displayed out there instead of a single stationary sign place.
We're also still thinking that we would have sign permit, sidewalk permit as part of the business licensing process.
I think that's something that we would need to have direction from the board on. The information that you have tonight really specifically addresses sidewalk cafes and what could happen there, sidewalk sales and what could happen there. We don't have anything that would be signs and other appurtenances. If there is a sidewalk cafe, the way that the draft is provided outlines the availability to be able to have sandwich boards, umbrellas, other, I think we called it, other accessories, amenities within that permit. But we don't outright have an ability to be able to do signs at this point in time. So we if that's how the board directs, we need to be able to take a look at that. And it might be cleanest if we had permits for downtown.
Yeah, I think the sign approval should be part of the business licensing process, so that we know it's an approved sign, and if somebody calls and complains, we know it's approved. Not just if there's something out there.
So like in our area, where we couldn't do a sandwich board because the tables are gonna be there and it couldn't be closer to the thing or to the wall. Could we do a pole one like that would be on the railing?
That's what they were discussing.
Okay.
And that's kind of what
Yeah, I think,
I tried to figure out.
I think we'd have to find something that would work in that situation that mounts to the pole, to get it up there at high enough.
Would,
Either in the railing or, you know, the amenity area closest to the street also, and it could be that portable or on a pedestal.
Or whatever it is.
They aren't on our height or sidewalk,
Yeah, if we had it on a pedestal height.
Because we can stick it in the corner even.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the corner away from the tables, because people aren't gonna be sitting right next to the corner because of chairs. Yeah, I think you have space there.
And I think the other thing staff would suggest, consistent with the other language that we've got, is that would be brought in and that would stay out.
Right,
Could they have the option for both or either other, not one of the other?
We do, however, board direct, there's that would be, I
I
mean,
think we should limit it to one sign, not unlimited signs in front of business.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry, either.
It's higher.
Yeah, but yeah, just, yeah.
One design, I like that idea, one uniform.
Yeah. I like this layout with the logo at the top and the spacing, and, yeah, they can either have it on a pedestal or have it on the ground, and really, I think just about for everyone, the pedestal would probably work best.
Is that a chalkboard style, or is that a magnetic letter, or what is that? Is it a square by box?
This is Jeff's best
I thought it was like right.
That time, yes. I view this as kind of a chalkboard, because then you can personalize a little bit more, different chalk color, you can quickly change but
I like that idea of something that I have several of my employees that are artists, and that can draw fancy cool sandwiches or whatever.
several customers too, right?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want mine, but, yeah.
You have a name all of it.
So yeah, I like the concept of that style sign, not just an open,
Yeah.
something that gets the information out there that catches people's eye.
And if we made those the same size as the banners, keep it consistent on our stuff downtown, would we do 24 by 36? Yeah, and that's what, we got 24 by 18, but,
Well, that's what they're.
huh?
yeah, there's 24 by 18, aren't
The new banners or the original banners?
the original were 36 by 18, I think, and now they're
36 by 24.
36
Yeah,
by 24,
36
yeah.
by 24.
But I was looking at what Jeff had drawn up there, I think getting it a little bigger, would give it a little more space to color on it, so.
Do these specials look okay?
Yeah,
I can't see it from here, so.
it's free. Buy 2 sandwiches, get free fried pickles.
Nice.
Wishful thinking.
10% off earrings?
What color are the bathrooms?
The mayor's choice. Okay, so,
Yeah, from a distance, that's
Yeah.
a decent size.
24 by 36.
And not to see
that's too big.
It doesn't have to be that.
That's about the same
That
size.
could be the largest size.
That's about the size of your current sandwich board.
Our sandwich board there.
The actual writable area,
Yeah,
is it?
okay. So I think that, and
Yeah.
that's fine, as long as they're not building.
Okay.
It's about the same size, right over
So it sounds like we have a consensus on signs.
I think the only thing would be a question is I think we've got direction that we need to be able to put something together. The question I would have is if it's permit part of the business licensee, no cost for the sign permit or cost?
We do is there every other business paying for a sign?
Yeah, yes. Signs are separate unless we include them in this specifically as part of the permit.
If they go with the one with the pole, how long is the pole gonna be? Just,
And do we tax the pole?
What's the railing height for this change?
you probably have to get the,
I would say not to exceed 36, 40, whatever it's, whatever the top of the rail is.
Nothing's charged for signs.
You don't think so?
If there's no other signs to put up, only these, that's what charge.
Okay.
I'm just trying to get that.
As long as the sign approved as part of the business licensing process or the permit, the sidewalk permitting process, whatever we're calling it.
So the other part of the question then is, when we were looking at the open signs similar to the summit, the first one was provided by the city, and the subsequent ones, if they broke, lost, whatever, was responsibility of the business to replace that one.
What if somebody doesn't want a sign, is that okay?
That's perfectly fine. What is your recommendation that we pay for, we buy a half dozen of these, or buy an order, price it out, or try to budget it in?
I think that's something we should do. If we're gonna help, if we wanna say this is what we want from a uniform sign perspective, and, you know, we get them without the logos on them, they gotta get their logo put on there, whatever. And to be clear, I'm not making this. This is as good as I get.
Well, what happens if a new business comes in like 6 months from now? Do they get a sign here? How does that work?
They have to pull a permit, so yes.
So they'll get a free sign from the city.
With the business permit.
So this could just go on forever.
Might have.
We do have low space in the Heritage District.
How are we putting the permit that?
That's what it is.
Please return your sign.
Deposit?
If there's possibility for just like a clear opening where the logo would go, then the business could
Slide
put
it.
something printed and then just take it out, and then when they close, you know, there's a deposit, or, you know, I don't know, to give them incentive to keep the sign, to bring it back.
Yeah.
To be reused.
Keep it in good shape, all that stuff.
Yeah, I think there should be, if we do anything, it'd be deposit. Just to cover getting brought in at night too, because if they get left out, somebody takes them home. Walking down through the neighborhood, going for a jog, John decides to take them home with him.
I mean, if we're buying the signs, then they're city property at that point anyway, so, yeah, requiring that they be left in the business when you leave makes sense.
Right.
I guess that means that if you appoint them to city property and we're advertising a business essentially, is that going to bring across any kind of laws or anything?
Sidewalk city property. To move permit.
They're technically bringing the sign from us, right?
Right.
They're putting their logo on it, we're not putting it on that one.
What if other businesses want a sign? Not just downtown.
That's why I think we make it specific to the Heritage District.
Permitting process.
Because they are zoned B4 in a special district.
The way the
Tied to the
ordinance,
zoning.
the way the ordinance you have is written, that it applies to businesses that have no front yard setback. They're set right on sidewalks.
Yeah, the other businesses don't have that restriction. They, most of them have a parking lot, but some sort of entry. Okay, so tables and signs, what else do we got on downtown? Probably should we?
Yeah, one thing I want to just kind of bring up that I took away from that meeting before, one of the folks was talking about selling or renting their frontage in front of their store, some other business to use the seating. I'm not in favor of that.
Yeah, I don't think we put that in the draft.
Yeah, if anything that we've got to sign on that, we wouldn't, that would require review and board authorization, if that's something that I'm working on.
Yeah, I would have to
have to change.
The draft
It does
you
not
have
allow
is
that.
only in front of your
It's
business.
in front of your business.
So, I mean, well, what, okay. So right now, there's no current way for like if shops wanted to, use some of the.
Or your shop or bar.
Be able to.
Because it's not frontage to your property.
Not frontage.
Yeah.
Now they could bring it back to the board and request an exception, right? And I think, you know, kind of the earlier point of, we probably made this right tonight. If we want to encourage and allow it to get going, and knowing that we're gonna have to come back and kind of tweak. But let's get enough of it going so we can allow that to get going.
Sounds fair to me.
So most of the other questions I think were addressed in the policy that was in your packet. Sidewalk cafes, sidewalk sales, and you could pull a permit for no more than 3 consecutive days at a time, thinking Friday, Saturday, Sunday if you wanted to do that. But you could pull for, you know, every night of the farmer's market, every night of, you know, movie night, that type of thing, but no more than 3 days in a row. And no cost for that, but just making sure that we're aware and with the sidewalk cafes, you know, if there's a emergency shutdown of the streets for X, Y, Z reason, this stuff's gotta go. Small permit fee for that, knowing that we're gonna have to go enforce a little bit more. Sidewalk cafe would mean you have a food license, so that limits a little bit further on who likely is gonna pull that.
And do we need to put language in there around alcohol service, or is that already covered under their liquor license?
It will require something else. We didn't have a clear direction of put it in, not put it in, all that, but it's easy enough to insert. We can have it ready to go.
Okay. And do we limit, so the food handler permit, liquor permit, in order to get a sidewalk, for them to be tagged to their sidewalk cafe? No drinking wine outside of Alicia's shop.
And on the cafe permit, the language to the top line has a $50 permit fee, is that?
Because, I mean, at most, we're gonna have one, two, we only have 3 businesses downtown with a food handler permit. Anything else? Anything else?
Sounds good to me.
Is there a specific catalog you're supposed to look in for those tables?
We asked for recommendations from the Heritage District group, and I don't think we received any, have we?
I think it's in a print screen, maybe, or just a picture, but I didn't have, my thought was, I think I mentioned it, somebody made Chinese diversified.
Yeah. I'd like to see you guys recommend to us what the tables would look like, because if we pick them, then if somebody's unhappy with it, they're unhappy with us. If the business owner can't pick that, it's what you guys want. So.
Looked at several, I think we're having a hard time, like I want to touch it, I need to, like, have a day to go and see it, I want to feel what the weight is, because I don't know the proper weight. Like, there's no guideline on it, should be this weight, so it should blow away, or it won't blow away, so I feel like we need, now that we know that we can go in this direction for sure, we can go out and touch and feel, we want to get them out there as soon as possible.
Well, I know your current table weights enough to break a window, so
Correct.
that's probably.
The language that was provided in the standards policy outlines that restaurant tables and chairs are to be purchased, maintained, and operated by the permit holder. All tables shall be of commercial grade material such as metal, wood, or heavy-duty plastic. They must meet most recent version of ADA standards, including their high-end placement. The tables and chairs must be of sufficient weight to not be subject to movement with regular wind. The color of any finished surface should be black, with no glass tables or parts. And that's kind of what we provide some pretty generic language. We don't have any dimensions on that. I don't know if the board wants to direct. I know Alderman Longford had indicated 30 inches on tables,
I mean,
maximum of 30 inches.
I mean, really, we regulate the ADA path and
When it comes into compliance,
they
you know,
get on the
how.
ADA path, that's on them, right?
What about the umbrellas? I mean, do they have to be secured down, weighted down?
The information that we have here is tables and chairs may have tablecloth, seat cushions, umbrella options, and other decorative amenities. Any such amenity may be color or colors, and I think Alderman Walker alluded to this as well, of the permit holder's choosing, but all amenities are to be removed at the close of business and replaced when opened. So they would have to come in, so they'd be removable.
Right, they could come in, but we're getting into March, April, where you could have it out and have a really strong wind, and it's gonna take it, well, it's out there during business hours.
We have, they do have to be fire retardant, pressure treated, or manufactured by fire resistant materials. We can also indicate in there.
I don't know if we want to do that or not, because it, you know, a gust of wind.
The other is the height, they'll have to be no less than 7 feet from the walking path requirement, so that if they've got
It
another
doesn't go
belt that's
out.
a little wider, gets into the standard walking area, you don't want people cracking their heads. Motion goes back.
And so I think part of the recommendation based on the discussion is to drop the S from colors and pick one color and start. And, you know, if someone wants to use something a little bit more, we can kind of adjust and go forward, but I don't think we want to get too crazy to start with, and we would allow them to do pick the color and then add their logo. A lot of discussion focused around, well, we want to be able to do, we want to be able to have the maximum of what we can do, but we'll police that. Well, it's pretty difficult to police locally. So I even make a recommendation, primary, secondary, tertiary color.
We have our creative marketing college in the city.
So primary, secondary, tertiary would allow most colors, but the visible pink wouldn't be one of them.
That's fine. You want single color or multiple colors, just so that's something we can bring forward that we can take action on at the next meeting.
I would say start with a single color.
I'm good with that.
Their logo is gonna be,
Right.
both for their own color there.
Right.
I know, my umbrella will be black with orange logo on it. Probably maybe
Yeah.
that big, so.
I would-
Run into a problem with somebody not wanting
I would say the multicolor maybe could be allowed in the logo for the business. Could we write it that way, like the primary color is black, and allow for a multicolored logo, business logo?
Yeah, and if folks want to do something different, if they bring it forward, it can be approved and done that way too.
Yeah, bring a sample in, review it, and approve it.
If we say single color and their logo, we don't have to worry about the number of colors, their logo is their logo.
Correct.
5 color, 10 color,
True.
1 color, their logo is their logo.
So for two things, black or single color?
Single color.
Single color, okay. Single color with business logo.
Getting back to what Melissa said, do we want to say something about the umbrella being secured?
And
I
we'll
preference it.
provide some language that we did similar to tables of, you know, a regular wind, something that's excessively strong as you can't plan for, but yeah, we can do that.
If the business does not secure their own, would they be held liable?
I mean,
Secure it?
they're to be purchased, maintained and operated by the permanent holder, maintained and
I think they want
and
to.
operated would be,
I don't think they want to secure it to be safe.
yeah.
Or not put it up on a windy day.
Right.
I know my umbrella hits in his car.
One thing to point out then as well, so we know that the board is aware of this and that something doesn't come up as a surprise later. The information provided does outline that it's recommended that all plates and cups be of material other than glass, so that prevents any additional breakage, spillage, clean out for that area.
What about beer bottles
No.
or wine glasses?
I mean,
We do have language, it further says, but if glass options are used, it's permit holder's responsibility to immediately remove all broken glass. So we're not eliminating it, but wanted to make sure that that would be the preferred where possible.
With the black glass that goes out into the parking area in front, that need to be cleaned up, or you have a tire issue.
I mean, we can go to all candy or, I mean, if that's, then I know.
Typically, they pour the glass and bring the bottle back in. Most places I've seen.
I think that gives us direction we need. I think that can really provide, like we said, you know, there may be some tweaking that needs to happen, that this at least provides an opportunity for people to start.
And are we need to add anything we talked about earlier with percentage of alcohol sales, or are we gonna allow someone with just a liquor license to have an outdoor cafe? Or do they need to have both food and liquor? Do they need to serve both food and liquor to be able to have a outdoor cafe?
The way it's worded now, they have to have it's a restaurant. They gotta have food.
They gotta have food. Does the microwave pizza count as food?
Huh?
Does the microwave pizza count as food?
I think if that was your concern, we can clarify that they have to have a health restaurant license. If it's prepackaged, they don't.
Yeah.
So,
What if a business isn't a restaurant though, but they just have like a social event?
That'd be a special
Would
event
have a
permit.
friend of the-
That'd be a special event permit that would be covered under the special event. Just like we do now. If somebody wants to do like cornhole for a cause, we did that all on this point, maybe something like that.
Right.
It wouldn't be an everyday thing. But I think when you said 3 days, more than 3 consecutive.
What we have included in here for the sidewalk sales is,
Is that the same
it's
way?
3 consecutive days, at what time, the maximum number of days per year of 45.
Is that similar to our special event permits as well?
Special event permits, are just, you have to come to the
Yeah.
board every time for every request.
Every event, so yeah.
Page 51 of our packet, under other allowed items, talks about they're allowed up to 1 sandwich board. So if they do the one on the post, would that be included that? or-
I already have a note on here to clarify sandwich board or
Or
pedestal.
one or the other.
Yeah, we'll come up with a native form language for that signage. That is provided by the city.
Okay.
And Jack and I were just talking, there would be, for signage, probably a separate policy then as well that would allow sidewalk signs in the downtown district.
So, to John's question, if somebody decided, Alicia decided that she wanted to have a wine event and put tables out, would she have to adhere to the same liquor license, food handler permit, everything else?
As this is written, yeah.
If she's doing a permanent or a special event?
Special event at her
Special
business.
event, no, yeah.
Special event,
yeah.
then no, it comes to the board individually, like the wine and walk, and there's an area closed and.
So but that would be a special event permit request and would be reviewed on a case-by-case basis there as well. So-
Similar to Oktoberfest, the way it is.
But if she wanted to set it up as every Wednesday night during,
That's what I was thinking about.
That would be up to the board to approve a special.
as a special event,
So would it
Have
have
a
to
farmer's
be
market.
Would it have to be each, or it could be like for like whole season, or does that have to be each event?
Or could, well, they should probably put in and say, I want to do it every time at a farmer's market. And
it could
a
be-
farmer's market memorandum that says every Wednesday from this date to this date, and then the second Saturday is whatever date.
Right.
Okay.
and it could be submitted in that way for review, but it would be different than just the sidewalk sale permit.
Or walk, sidewalk.
Because it would be, it'd be kind of
It's a
a
special.
modified, it's a special use permit, yeah.
It's a special event.
A special event, sorry, not use, yeah.
So my last kind of broad comment on this is we want to encourage our beautiful new downtown to get used and get this stuff out there. We had to kind of create some design standard to kind of get it going we want to encourage some creativity, so, you know, the question was asked that evening, if Nellie's wanted to do candy stripe stuff, bring it forward. Bring what you want to do forward so we can get it reviewed and approved, but we kind of need to get the baseline to get it going. You know, we don't want it to get too wild and crazy, but, you know, bring forth the ideas and the creativity, and let's utilize our downtown.
One thing that I do want to clarify, I don't know if I heard a consensus on the ADA pathway and where that would be defined, because there have been some different discussions of the ability to 36 inches from the facade of building out or from the end of the brick pathway in.
I think what you guys have drawn here is good, and I know that your building's the only one that's really has two paths. You've got the ramp that's going to be an ADA path, but then outside of the ramp, you have to have a drawing of that too. So if we could get, if you say from the edge of the ramp out, on that one. But on the rest of these, this is 36 inches from the building, right?
This is, well, it actually is
Plus
there's a
stairs.
difference.
Yeah.
On the, what I would say, Chopsinelli's block, the commercial to bridge block on Main, on the south side, it hugs the building.
Yeah, and then on bridge.
On the north side, it hugs the
The brick.
brick, and on bridge, it hugs the brick.
Right. Yeah, I
So
think,
it kind of,
I'm good with this.
Right, north side, right, but we still identify that ADA path. This is not license related, this is identification of the ADA path, so we know what it is.
as Jack indicated, north side wouldn't be, on Main wouldn't be eligible for a permit because there's no business there, but, so the way this shows has on bridge, the measurement is from the amenity area to, it's number 4, Linda. Number 4.
The only concern that I see, what's the brick width at the front of Kennedy's? How much space do they have?
It's 5.5, isn't it?
Yeah, 4.5 or 5.5, because you got the curves in there too. Plus, then you have the 6-foot sidewalk. The other side of the street is 6 feet.
But a 5.5 foot isn't enough room to put a 30-inch table and chairs on, right, for brick?
Oh, yeah, from the
Yeah.
brick area, if they're using the brick area for table and chairs.
Yeah, he's got as much space as they've got.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. He doesn't have the guard.
Right, yeah, there's no rail there, so.
And my recommendation, my suggestion is that we remain consistent and just hug the building.
Hug the building on everything.
Go ahead.
We can't do that in front of the chamber building, right? Just theirs.
You don't have to in front of the chamber.
Because it's offsite.
And it's got a front yard.
It's got, yeah.
I know in our last meeting, we had the businesses on Bridge wanted to continue the sidewalk still, their garage stuff be against the building, than be pushed out into the amenity area. Which is just what we talked about, so they would like, their when
So
they
the ADA
spoke,
area cuts the middle.
starting, yeah.
We'd like to have that option as well, to be able to have it in the middle if we want to, instead of from the building out, like from the brick in.
We can't have a serpentine pattern for down the street. It has to be straight. We can't be going in and out along the same road.
If we have we have Bill's bench in front of the store, it's going to job a little bit right there.
Bill's bench is not going to be in front of the store. We talked to him about it today.
We'll probably move it down into the amenity area, that brick area, there just beyond the railing.
Yeah, we can't have a path that weaves in and out on the same block.
So according to this, everything's from the brick in,
Except for on the main, on the
except for one side lane,
Yeah.
right?
Because it still gives you plenty of space too between the building, if there's not a sidewalk sale going on, it still gives you quite a bit of space.
Which in what we're describing, this depicts that.
Yeah.
So,
Well, yeah, that's what I'm looking at, is this
Yep.
drawing.
okay.
I'm good with this drawing, no matter what it is.
see it be consistent. I understand the sales and stuff, but
From a code enforcement standpoint, it's easier,
that's,
it's
yeah.
Yeah.
consistent.
They had a concern about doors opening, and that's what makes it.
So long as doors aren't propped open, it's an issue.
And the wind took care of that one.
Pardon?
The wind took care of one of the doors.
Yeah.
It's gone. The rest are recessed. I mean,
Right.
Alley's, ware shop, they're all recessed in.
I think we have 3 or 4 total in the entire north.
Is the art store open or not? They're still open. Is it not art?
Yes.
But I've never seen them prop theirs open.
So we need to,
I guess the only question I'd have with that was, Felicia's building where you've got the ramp, is the ADA outside of that, is that what goes
So,
around it?
I think,
So then we'd have a,
if you look at Terry, I think if you look at Terry's building, it's pretty much, it's similar, but she's gonna have an ADA path that would be the ramp.
There's
And the
one of
stairs, but also the
one
area
of
by
the
the
other,
ramp.
I didn't print,
I think she really kind of, really her ramp up to her building isn't the ADA path, because it's how do they get to the crosswalk? And I think going around the ramp would be the,
so then it makes sense to me that.
yeah. So hers would be against the brick, outside the ramp.
first against the ramp.
It's both buildings, it's like
Yeah.
between the ramp and the,
yeah.
we don't have her drawing on it.
Okay, I think our first letter is E.
Yeah, that's not
So they're pulling out on her work, did I miss anything?
Not that I recall from the meeting, like 2 cents on a small. What we got designing on paper makes more sense for me. Yeah, we had a variation here in South Main Street Bridge and commercial that's different than everywhere else, but I don't see it big a code enforcement issue. That's the one block.
Yeah, there you go. How wide is that sidewalk? I mean, that can't be much more than 36.
That is 6 from here to the wall edge.
Right, but you're not gonna call that the ADA path, because there's stairs at the end of it.
No,
We're gonna have to go back down and come around.
Come out here.
Yeah.
There are 2 ADA.
Yeah.
Right, there's an ADA path in the building, with the ADA path from the path, similar to what we have for Terry.
Absolutely.
We have to go around the ramp to get to the other side of the street.
To get in the building.
Yeah. So really, she has no amenity area.
Because it's a tree and grass in front. The corner is a brick, where that picture is standing in the street, and that's the corner wedge looking. Right coming down by the light pole on the left, that's the one ramp, and that's the other ramp, this area. 10 or 12 feet.
That would be their amenity area.
That would be the only
And then
real use.
what's the sidewalk width right there in front of Kennedy's and Tony Design?
They're all 6 feet.
6 feet.
6.5 on the other, 6 feet.
So really, if you're doing a sidewalk sale, they only have 24 inches to deal with anyway. If they put it on the brick side, then they have the brick plus 24 inches. So hugging the building makes more sense if you need space for a sale. You either get 7 feet or you get 2 feet.
Yeah, unfortunately,
We're doing a
the
sale.
brick area is not ADA path
Right.
capable, so. yeah.
Right, yeah.
So if you're gonna do a sale, I don't know, Alicia, you are the only one that's on that street that would make a difference. Do you want 2 feet or do you want 7 feet? There we go. 7 feet it is. 7 feet it is. Hug the buildings.
I know it's kind of.
So everywhere from the building then.
It's only 2 feet. I mean, you can't put a table in that. That's small.
Close range.
Yeah, closer.
Yeah, the old part,
Yeah, you get out there, find the break, that people can see it. All right, anything else on this? Staff, you good?
Jack and I were just talking, I think that's, Nikki, is there anything else that, I think we've got it.
All right.
We need to put something together to bring back to the next meeting for them.
Awesome. That, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Walker, do you have a second? Alderman Atkins?
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no.
Present.
Stand adjourned.